in HIE birth injury and certain types of brain imaging patterns. And why is this important when we are discussing a birth injury investigation? Now, right off the rip, I want to tell you that this is going to be a longer video. And if you are dealing with this, or you know someone that's dealing with this issue, that baby has suffered a traumatic brain injury like HIE, stay to the end because this video is important. And we've gotten a lot of questions offline over the last couple of weeks talking about this. Especially this aspect of, Marcus, what do you mean by imaging and patterns? Why is this important? So stay to the end because I'm going to put it all together, and you hopefully at the end you can see why these things are important. Normally when a family contacts us and their baby has suffered a traumatic brain injury, they have questions. The number one question is generally, how did this happen? Especially if mom had an uneventful pregnancy, there weren't really any things going on, any issues going on, and now the baby has a traumatic brain injury. So when families reach out to us, what we're doing is we are going through the medical records and we're using our expertise and our skills to be able to try to put the pieces of the puzzle back together and help families understand, did your baby suffer this injury because of essentially negligence or medical malpractice on the part of the hospitals, doctors, and nurses, or was this something that happened because of genetics or developmental issues? What I want to get into depth with today is what happens when the puzzle is just, it's not lining up. We cannot put the pieces to the puzzle together. And this is where we normally can see problems. So generally when a baby has suffered an HIE injury and birth trauma has probably caused this during labor and delivery, you're going to see certain things on the imaging, specifically the MRI patterns. You're going to see certain things there, and also too the 24-hour ultrasound, if that's done, that can also be revealing. But I want to talk about the MRI patterns. Generally what you will see with these patterns is you will see the basal ganglia area, that's going to get hit when there's an oxygen deprivation that's causing this injury. You're going to see the basal ganglia, it's going to get hit. The thalamus is going to get hit. Generally you're going to see an injury there. You may see the brain stem, that may get hit. You may see lesions. In other words, certain things are going to jump out on that MRI pattern, and that is what's going to show up. Science and medicine, you know, a lot of the research has shown that these certain types of patterns, they show up when an HIE injury has happened like this. Where things for us can get a little dicey is when we request the records and we're looking at the scans and there has been an initial HIE diagnosis, but when we are looking at the imaging, the pattern isn't lining up. In other words, there may not be injury to the basal ganglia, or there may not be injury to the thalamus, or there may not be injury to the brainstem, but there's an HIE diagnosis initially that is there. And so when we have things like this going on, we have to dig down and really begin to take the records apart to see what else do we see that could possibly support a potential case. So then we're going to go and look at other things. For example, what does the fetal heart strips, what do you see on the fetal heart monitor with the strips there? If you've got patterns that don't necessarily fit, and then you move over to the electronic fetal heart monitor, and those patterns on the monitor, the readings really don't look too bad. You don't really have minimal variability. You don't really have late decelerations or bradycardia, or, you know, mom having too many contractions. If you pretty much have a pretty basic strip, then you're going to have to step back. As a birth injury attorney, I've got to step back because I've got two pieces of my puzzle that are just essentially gone. They're gone. And so in a lot of instances, when we are struggling to put these pieces of the puzzle together, we know that if we go forward with a case like this and using our medical experts are going to be susceptible to attacks by the defense on certain grounds. For example, they may point to the issue with the patterns on the MRI. The defense attorneys, they may point in that direction. They may say that, okay, not only do you not have the patterns matching up, look at these strips. The strips do not necessarily look bad. You don't really have too many problems here. So for me as a birth injury attorney, and remember, this is just my opinion and my assessment of these things. Other attorneys may go in a different direction, but I'm helping you understand how we assess these things. when we are trying to help families understand what's happening, if we don't have a good fit, or if I feel that I don't have a good grasp, or I don't think that this is going to be a case that I can really help this family win, then I'm not going to take the case. I'm not going to put the family through this if I know that I don't have answers for certain issues that are coming up. And so the reason why I want to talk with you today and put this all together is to help you understand, because I've had families that I have talked to, even here on this app, that have reached out and I have not been able to assist them because there are other problems with the puzzle, so to speak. And so when you have these problems with the puzzle, then the defense can point to other things. They can point to possibly genetic issues. They can point to possibly developmental issues that are out there. And like I said, I don't want my experts to be susceptible to these attacks and not really have the answers that are needed to be able to overcome some of these defenses. If you have more questions, maybe you're watching this video today because your baby has suffered an HIE brain injury and you've got questions as to just what I talked about in this video, the cause of it. Was it medical malpractice, negligence? Was it the hospital, the doctors and the nurses? They are the ones that caused it? Or was it something genetic? Was it something developmental? Regardless, if you have those types of questions, what I invite you to do is to get your cell phone and give me a call at the number down below on the screen. I talk with families like yours all the time about these issues, and I'll be happy to discuss your baby story. And I'll tell you up front whether this is something that we think that we can assist you with or not. When you contact my office, be sure that when you talk to my secretary that you get on my calendar, you pick a good date and a time to contact us. That is important. Pick a date and a time. In addition to that, make sure you have a good email address, an email address that you frequently check, because sometimes we have to contact families and we have to reach out through email. So make sure you have an email address that you check frequently. And finally, I practice law here in the state of Maryland, and I know from time to time, because this video is on the internet, it's on social media, it's on all these other platforms, I have individuals who will contact us. They're in the United States, but they're not necessarily in Maryland. If that is you, what I invite you to do is to, or I shouldn't say what I invite you to do, if that is you, just understand that we have to use what we call co-counsel or local counsel. In other words, an attorney in your state. And that's something that we can look to work to help you with, but I just want to make sure that you understand that co-counsel or local counsel aspect of things if you are not here in the state of Maryland. All right, that's going to be it for today's quick educational video. Again, I'm Marcus Boston, and I'm one of the childbirth injury and medical malpractice attorneys practicing law here in the state of Maryland at Boston Law Group, LLC. We'll talk with you next time. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.